I am here because I always felt like I was bigger than this world and that I was destined to do something that was going to be heroic and amazing. And yet after a few failed business relationships, highlighted with real, genuine, but unsustainable success, I came to believe that my endurance was hindered by always running into certain kinds of people, and in particular, the dreaded narcissist. So I began searching for ways to cure the narcissists around me so that they'd stop getting in my way, because I thought I knew everything there was to know about what was holding me back. Until one day I broke someone's heart. Someone I loved, and I did not just have a romantic relationship with him, he was actually also my business partner. And this was supposed to be the relationship that ended all others. And so I worked really hard at it. And I always knew that when I was speaking my mind or pushing my ideas, I was doing it for him and to make him better and to make us better. And so it wasn't until I lost everything all at the same time, the love of my life and the businesses, that it finally resonated in me that perhaps it was time to reassess everything that I thought I knew. Because a funny thing happens when you're destroyed. You have no choice but to rebuild. So there I was, sitting across from him with this sincere and aching want to fix the problem we had in front of us. But I could see my arguments weren't working. And so I sat there for a moment and I said in my head, what if I listen now and instead of fighting back, consider that everything he is saying is absolutely true? What does this situation look like now? And as each criticism he had of me was volleyed back in my direction, instead of batting them down with my arguments, I remained quiet and I let each ball hit me and land. And when he was done, I went home and I calmly reassessed what I'd heard to see which comments were true and which ones completely missed the mark. And that's when I discovered that it was possible that I wasn't the hero I thought I was, because the narcissist I needed to fear was me. And through the painful trips we took together, revisiting over and over again the reasons our relationship was poisoning us, I slowly started to change. Not at first, not even during the 10th conversation, which felt like the 100th conversation. It came in short bursts, like clumps of dirt falling away from different parts of the same dirty window, letting a little daylight through each time. I began to see that I am devoted to helping people, and yet I'm also capable of being extremely selfish and insensitive at times. And while I hold gracious space for different ideas and opinions so that problems can't actually be solved, I'd also been stubbornly aggressive at pushing my own agenda. And I live by the moral code that holds honesty and directness in high regard, and yet too many times I acted with subversion and passive aggression. I moved people, inspired them, nurtured them, I led them. But I also pushed them, coerced them, persuaded them to go to places that were not necessarily in their best interest, but in what I thought was their best interest. My nature to lead, my love of purpose, my passion to be a change agent in people's lives has been powerful and positive. But it had also been my greatest weakness. It had formed a me-sized blind spot that not only filtered my view of myself, but also my view of the others around me. And that's why I figured that what I had to share on this episode wasn't just any old self-help psychobabble, for when I am not a therapist. I just felt that today I have a special message for special people. Superheroes, mentors, gurus, leaders, people fueled by a passion for helping others, and as a result, who we look up to and expect actions of just fearless altruism. People we regard as perfect because we recognize our own imperfections, and we want them to show us the path, show us it's possible. People we admire and love. The same people that, if they fail, or really when they fail, break our hearts in unspeakable ways and shake our confidence in them as well as in ourselves for trusting them. And so the dilemma is that heroes know you feel that way about them, and it's also how they see themselves. This self-view makes them incapable of perceiving their own errors right away. Why, when confronted, they apply thin apologies laced with defensive excuses, and then you hate them even more for not just what they did, but that they seem to be shirking their responsibility. And they're no longer our heroes in our lives, but instead plucked away from their pedestal and thrown away in disgrace. And so, how is it that I came to this point in my life where I wanted to share this with you? It's because while I didn't break any laws of man, I am guilty of breaking spirits, including my own. And I had never meant to. nor did I realize I had for quite some time. And so I felt that others like me, who really do care about other people, would want to know if they were doing the same thing. Therefore, I decided that the best thing to do would be to confess my sins and walk you through how I came to the realization that I had committed them in the first place. And because we are all unintentionally corrupted in our brains by our commitment to do good, I felt it's important to help you understand what our brains do when it comes to protecting our self-identity that makes it challenging for recognizing our own faults and mistakes. And I also felt like you can't talk about the tremendous influence of heroic personalities without touching on that intricate balance that is required between dominating confidence and the dark side of ego, control, and authority. And I feel that knowing where that line of intrepid audacity to believe that you have something important to share creeps into those shadows of self-righteousness and the unrelenting expectation of complete obedience. I want to show you how to develop greater self-awareness so that you can undo the bad habits you may have created and to move forward with a mastery of your emotions and your actions. So this episode is for those of you who wear a cape, who are daring, courageous, willful, independent, and full of confidence. This is for those of you who demand a lot from yourself and the people around you, those who are leaders, those of you who are no less than passionate about your work, ideas, and your personal relationships. Those of you who fall, but always rise again. But more importantly, this is for those of you still searching in earnest for success you can't seem to find because you thought other people were holding you back. This episode is not for the faint of heart. This is not for victims of their circumstances, and I'm not going to provide you a handbook full of excuses. This episode is only for superheroes.